We all know by now that France has exited Niger, but many critics believe that France ultimately made a huge mistake. And we're going to talk about those mistakes today. Now, for those of us who are from the Pan-African world and from the Black community that are, following this, we believe that Niger is doing an excellent job by replacing Mohamed Bazoum and getting France out. But people critical of France don't believe that. In fact, Macron is being criticized for not making negotiations with the new regime. Now, this is different from the United States. Once Niger took power, the United States was afraid that forces loyal to Russia would replace them. So what did they do? They said, listen, if this is the guy that you guys want in power, hey, we're okay with that. Let's negotiate because we want to keep our forces here also. And we got to remember, one of the biggest U.S. drone plants in Africa is in Niger. But that's not what France did. What France said is, we are going to stay here without recognizing whoever the new leadership is, which was a bad idea because France had also fallen out with Mali and Burkina Faso. But today we want to find out what negative implications did France do by not negotiating with Niger. Let's check them out. So if you guys don't know, the number one reason that France really messed this up is because they can't control the Sahel. Now, I'm not really a big geography person, but the Sahel is a big landmass that, connects some part of the Sahara Desert to Sudan, right? And you can know how much stuff is in there. You have a lot of food, a lot of desert, a lot of fighting going in there. And that landmass is good to pretty much protect against terrorism. And what Niger had at this particular point was the right to pretty much have France come in and train them on all type of military tactics. But because of what Macron did, they have lost that ability. And who has been replacing France? Forces loyal to Russia. But we'll get to that later. Because those forces from France will not be there, insurgent groups that want to cause terrorism will become more emboldened. And that stability we're going to talk about is very important to France. But again, all they had to do was to basically recognize the new regime, recognize why the regime was there, and they possibly could have stayed. But France wanted to show Niger who was boss. And now France had to leave. Let's go to the second part. So actually, when Mali did a military coup in 2022, what happened was the new government took out France, replaced them with Wagner forces that are allies to Russia. Now, this could possibly happen in Niger, but for the United States, that is a very scary thing. The United States cannot allow that to happen. As you know, France is also concerned with Russia being a threat to their national security. And also, as I told you, the United States has a huge drone base in Niger, so the investment for the United States has to stay. Now for France, in this part is not so big of a deal because this is what America is concerned about. They do not want to lose any more ground in Africa to Wagner forces who, again, a lot of these military guys would rather deal with Russia than to deal with France and the United States. But thirdly, so if you guys know, Niger is very close to Libya. In fact, at some point, Chad, Libya, Niger, that whole connection. But what happens in Niger to Libya? A lot of people get into Europe through Niger. Because France pulled out of Niger, now the threat of illegal immigration through Libya into Europe is going to be France's fault. Because we all know about the horror stories of Africans coming through Europe, trying to get into, I believe it's Spain, and then from Spain into the EU. Once you get into the EU, you got freedom to go wherever you want to go. And that's something that the European Union can't afford. But France dropped the ball. As its former colony, their forces were to prevent any of that happening and occurring into the EU. And France has one of the best militaries in the world. But because Macron messed up, and again, they told Macron, listen, pull out the forces, pull them out now, don't leave them there, Let's try to negotiate and recognize this new government so that we can keep all our infrastructure that may affect, people coming in the country as illegal immigrants. But that's not what he did. Now there's a threat of immigration coming into France. And now the whole European Union is shook because these are the things that might be able to happen. Now, again, France has lost a lot of ground. Mali, Burkina Faso, now Niger. So the next question is, what about the others? And again, this is what's going on in politics right now in Africa. And it doesn't seem like it's that important, but now you're getting to see why the United States is so powerful. Where France looked at Niger as, listen, you are our little brother. We do what the hell you tell us to do. We are your masters. The United States had a different approach. The United States was saying, listen, we don't really care who you have in power. We will negotiate with you, and the terms of that negotiation is still, nobody really knows. But hey, the United States has their military bases and all of that protection and their drone stuff there and all of that. The United States is still concerned about their investment, and they don't want to lose any inches to Russia. It almost sounds like the Cold War all over again. But guys, what do you think about Macron? I mean, do you think he'll look like a big idiot to the rest of the EU? I think so. I think that basically he made a very bad decision that was emotional that could impact the European Union for a long time. For those of us in the Pan-African community, hey, it's just let us know that, hey, if you get enough of these guys to stand up, it might be able to change the whole complexity of Africa. If the French military leaves, Niger, well, then what is that going to say to some of the other Francophone countries? I mean, you got Congo there, you have both Congos, you got Togo, you got Ivory Coast. You have a lot of different players out there that might be getting emboldened to see what they're going to be able to do on the world stage. I'm all here for it. What about you guys? This has been another episode here on Kinganda. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit the bell. It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson. I'm out.